Sadly, in recent years, the acceptance for the gay and trans community has gone down, and it's really not that hard to figure out why. If our community would just leave the kids alone, nobody cares. Nobody cares what you do as adults, how you live your life. We fought to get married, and you're able to do that. And right now, there is an attack on children. What we're teaching them in schools, what we're exposing to them, and what we're indoctrinating them with. And it all falls back to our community. We need to take accountability on the war on children and just leave the kids alone. It's really not that hard.
Hey, this your boy Velli. Welcome back to the channel. And we're finally at a boiling point where, well, if you've been on Twitter, they've been at this now for at least probably about 2 years, but gays against groomers are an LGBT group that's just had enough of the whole trans shit and the exploitation of kids. They're sick of it. Just like the world is society is sick of this shit at this point, man. Let's get into the video.
Modern trans movement is using the LGBT community as a shield to push their radical agenda of mutilation, sterilization, and indoctrination of minors. And as a gay man who represents the organization Gays Against Groomers, I'm here to make it loud and clear. The LGBT community is sick of being used as a scapegoat for these destructive practices that are ruining kids' lives before they ever even had a fighting chance.
Facts. And shout out to this guy, man. Like, I love everybody. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. That shit is none of my business. I have no concerns with what you do privately in your bed with whoever you decide to do that shit with. But we all need to come together to decide that this shit, when it comes to kids, is just outrageous. Kids should be nowhere near this shit. They should be influenced on anything. Don't matter gay, straight, if you in an animal, whatever, all that weird shit that is coming out now. You got people, fairies dressing as fucking animals, and it's all this shit is too much. But if you're an adult, you can live your life however the fuck you want. But one thing we will never tolerate is that shit being pushed on our children. You got the opportunity to grow up and live life how you see fit. They should be able to do the same thing, man. Shout out to Gays Against Groomers for coming out here and just standing against this shit. And understanding that they're being used to push this radical shit. Shout out to these people, man. Much respect.
For years, the LGBT community has fought valiantly for tolerance and acceptance in American society. And in the year 2023, we have achieved that. Now, all our progress is being erased because our community has been hijacked by trans terrorists. The LGBT community is being used like a Trojan horse by extremists in a death cult to ruin the future generation of our country by destroying their bodies, creating irreversible damage, and lifelong medical patients before these kids ever reach puberty. And make no mistake, the radical trans movement has become a death cult.
Facts. And I make that clear on Twitter. I call it a cult because that's exactly what the fuck it is. When you refuse to leave people alone that don't want to be bothered with your shit, and you have to be affirmed by everybody. You have to be in their face, and they have to see you. Yo, that's a fucking cult. People want to mind their business. People want to live their lives. They don't want to be bothered with that shit. But they refuse to leave people alone, especially the kids. Like, shit is crazy.
Their most recent mantra is death before detransition. They're possessed by a sick obsession with bodily mutilation, self-harm, identity destruction, and pure hatred for anyone who dares to question this dangerous ideology.
Facts.
America is a free society, and as a patriot, I stand for the freedom of all individuals to make their own decisions about their own lives. But where we draw the line is children. Minors
Facts.
who cannot consent. Yet that is exactly the demographic that these terrorists are targeting with their culture war. It's your kids. They say if you don't bend the knee and submit to their demands of gender-affirming care, which is the nice way of saying mutilation and sterilization, you are a bigot or a transphobe, And now LGBT acceptance in America is down for the first time in years. It's because people know that something is wrong and they're not on board with what's happening. It only takes a caring parent with a little common sense and gut instincts to know that permanently mutilating their child's body is much worse than being labeled anti-LGBT.
Facts. And what's even crazier is that people not talking about is how much of a trend it is. Like, especially with Hollywood and these actors and shit. Isn't it weird? And the crazy part is you have a lot of these white Hollywood actors adopting black kids and they're turning them trans. I just seen earlier how Megan Fox has 3 transgender kids. And she claims they've been trans since they were like 1 or 2 years old. You can't tell me that shit isn't grooming. She probably wakes up every day and forcefully dressed them as girls. Until they just got it in their head that, oh, this is probably who we're supposed to be. Kids are the product of their environment. If you send this kid to this farm, he's going to grow up a farmer. If you send this kid over here to this gay drag queen school, he's going to grow up to be a gay drag queen. Simple math. 2 + 2 is 4. Not fucking 26.
Many now wear that label proudly. They say, if being against the medicalization of minors means I'm anti-LGBT, then fine. Call me anti-LGBT. Because good parents care more about the lives and safety of their children than catering to these rainbow terrorists.
Facts. And you know what makes this even sweeter is this coming from a member of the LGBT community that's just so fed up and sick with this fucking manipulative radical garbage that's being pushed on society. And it's self-destructive. Like, being gay isn't self-destructive because that happens. That's just, people just live their lives. That happens. But this whole transgender and lying to people about reality and kids and cutting their body parts off and filling them with drugs and all this other shit. No, we're not going for that. That's not a part of life. That's not just something that you just wake up and just do. Like, that's actually being pushed on people to help further the surgical industry and make those people rich off real suffering. They're creating lifelong patience with that shit, and they know it.
I'm here to tell you now, standing up against these bullies and wanting to protect your children is not anti-LGBT. In fact, the majority of LGBT individuals are against it too, like me and like our entire organization, Gays Against Groomers. And we are fighting for visibility to reclaim our community from the trans extremists, to stand up against this evil and destructive ideology, to stand in solidarity with parents, and to give a voice to everyone who knows on a gut level that this is not right, but is too afraid to speak out in fear of being smeared or labeled a bigot. It is not bigoted to want to protect children from elective experimental medicalization. It is common sense, it is compassionate, and it is scientific. The gay left, in collusion with gay media and gay advocacy groups like GLAAD and HRC, are promoting a narrative that the LGBT community supports the medicalization of children, but that is a lie. The LGBT community at large does not support this. It's only fringe radicals. This lie is funded by donor dollars brought to you by Big Pharma. That's right. These organizations are sponsored by corporations like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, United Health Group, and other medical corporations who have a vested interest in turning your kids into lifelong medical patients because they don't see an innocent child with a bright future. They see dollar signs.
Bingo. Ding, 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 ding. Everything is about money, guys. Pfizer and all these people, their job is to make money throughout history. Like 100 years, 200 years from now, Pfizer's job is still going to be making money off of human beings. They don't give a shit how they do it. They know people are going to die. They have no morals. They have, when it comes to business of that magnitude, they have no morals. They can't operate off morals, or they won't make as much money as they're making. So they don't give a shit if your kid is mentally ill, mentally scarred, or whatever. Dies from the procedures, the surgeries, the hormone shit. It doesn't matter to them. As long as that green is still coming in, they don't give a shit, man. And that's what I wish people would realize. But it's unfortunate because people of lower IQ just can't seem to like to grip reality. And they have a hard time fighting off the brainwashing and other shit. And it's actually sad to see, man, but because they're the most manipulated. And I hate to say it like that, but it's always the people of lower IQ, man. Yikes.
It's funny. They call a group like Gays Against Groomers an anti-LGBT hate group. But the ideology of gender-affirming care is actually very homophobic. The truth is, the majority of gender nonconforming kids grow up to be gay. So in effect, they are erasing gays. Telling a masculine girl she's trans and needs to start puberty blockers deprives that girl of the right to explore her identity. What if she's a lesbian? What if she's just a tomboy? And telling a feminine boy he's meant to transition to female simply because he prefers playing with Barbies over trucks is outright sexist. At GAG, we see ourselves in these kids. Stop transing gay youth. Stop gay erasure. Save the tomboys. Stop the sexism. Stop using the LGBT community as a scapegoat for hurting children. This is a nonpartisan issue. Protect our kids. We are Gays Against Groomers, and we stand firmly against the elective medicalization of minors.
Facts. And shout out to David Leatherwood. Big shout out to that guy. Because we all in this fight together. This is a human problem, guys. This isn't a Republican, Democrat, woman, man. It's not none of that shit. This is black and white, man. This is a human issue. They're pushing self-destructive behavior on society for financial gain. And we have to call this shit out and we have to fight back against this shit, man. We have to. Or else we already lost. But like I said, man, big shout out to Gays Against Groomers and David Leatherwood for coming out here and being honest about this shit. And hopefully these guys continue to fight this so that people can really wake up to this shit. Because I still get on Facebook and you got people posting, oh, if your parents, don't agree with your identity and this and that, I'm your parent now. Whatever the fuck that means. But we're not going for it no more. We're tired of it. We're sick of it. We're tired of the progressive Democrats pushing this shit on society in America. We're done with it. Well, you guys seen it like I seen it, man. Let's save the kids. Protect the kids. I'm out.